Welcome to fourth term. I bet you guys are never thought you would see this day, excited to see this day, but it will go fast. It will be over before you know it. So let's just take a deep breath and we will get through this term. So, Nursing 401 is on the fundamentals of nursing. We're going to start 401 with chapter 103 from the basic nursing textbook, and we're also going to use one chapter out of the ATI books. So remember the box of ATI books you found? Take them out. You're going to be using them. And for this week, we're going to use the Nursing Leadership and Management edition. It's just it's blue covered, and we're going to cover just chapter 1 in that book. So get those textbooks out and wipe off the cobwebs because we're going to be using them. So let's get started with chapter 103, Advancement in Leadership in Nursing. So advancement in nursing, it all depends. Some people they want to advance their careers. Others, they will continue where they're at, delivering their competent, caring, safe bedside care without having to add any others added responsibilities. So it all depends on what your personal wants are. Do you want to advance your career? There are many different ways to do it, and we're going to talk about a few of those. So there's national certification. On page 1888, the first one, it talks about long-term care, gerontology. So a nurse who qualifies for this and passes this exam is eligible to use the initial CLTC, Certified in Long-Term Care. To qualify for this exam, the nurse must hold an active LV/LPN license in the United States or its territories, must have practiced in a long-term care for 2,000 hours, full-time equivalent of 1 year, within the last 3 years, and must furnish endorsement letters of reference. So to qualify for this exam, you must hold an active LPN license in the United States or its territories, practiced in long-term care for 2,000 hours, which is full-time equivalent of 1 year within the past 3 years, and must furnish endorsement letters of reference. Once you have done to qualify for that and your application has been processed, the exam is kind of similar to the NCLEX, and you're given about 2.5 hours to take the exam, and on successful completion you receive a certificate and a lapel pin. So the content of that test includes physiologic integrity, psychosocial integrity, special practice issues, leadership, and management. There's also pharmacology. The pharmacology application and examination processes are similar to the long-term care certification. The successful candidate is authorized to use the initials NCP after their name along with the LPN or LVN. And then there's also an intravenous or IV therapy. So there are information regarding these certifications can be obtained from the NFLPN website. So, those are just a few certifications that LVNs are eligible for. There's also their nurse mobility programs. So there's a lot of different programs out there. The 1+1 program it's usually a 2-year program. The students are eligible to take the NCLEX PN exam after completing the first year, in which, upon passing, you are licensed as an LPN. Then the second year of the program builds on the first year, and graduates of the 2-year program are eligible to take the NCLEX RN exam and become licensed as an RN. So some individuals will choose to do that, go through the 1-year program, get their LPN, and continue in this going through the second year to get their RN, but they'll work throughout that second year too. Some may choose to work, for a while, and so, it just all depends on your personal preference. There are also advanced education and specialized training. Some employers will provide reimbursement to help cover the cost of additional education, but sometimes in return for that reimbursement, the employer may request or give you a specified period of time that you agree to continue to work for that employer after you have completed that education, especially if they provide tuition reimbursement. And then there's the associate degree to baccalaureate degree RN programs and bachelor's degree to RN or master's program. That doesn't make yes. So most of those the baccalaureate degrees or the master's, a lot of those classes are done online. Most of the people that I have known that have went on and received their BSN or MSN have done online courses. But as a student or a practicing nurse, strongly encourage you to continue furthering your education because it just opens up a lot more opportunities. And then there's refresher courses. There are a lot of different reasons that nurses take refresher courses, but one of them may be because they have stopped working for some time to pursue further education. Maybe they wanted to travel or they raised a family. Refresher courses are a good idea if you haven't been nursing for a few years. Another reason is a nurse whose license has lapsed or has been revoked, or who is on inactive licensure status for some time. You may be required to take a refresher course before you can be relicensed. And then another reason may be a new graduate who does not pass the licensure examination in 2 or 3 attempts is usually required to take a refresher course. So, should a LPN graduate, should they consider further education? You're strongly encouraged to, but it's your personal preference. It all depends on where you want to go with your career. One of the things that is not on this slide here that I would like to cover is the continuing education. Most states do require continuing education units or credits to renew your license. In the state of Oregon, the only thing that is required is a one-time pain management class. So moving on to leadership. What are leaders? What's the difference between a leader, a manager? A leader uses specific skills to influence others to accomplish a task or do the work. A manager coordinates and controls the work of others, is involved with organizing, planning, directing, and controlling. However, leaders and managers' roles do overlap because you are role models, you're an educator, you are advocates, you're decision makers, planners, counselor, and change agents. So, always remember, A leader influences others, a manager controls others. Characteristics of an effective manager: a desire to manage, trust in one's own judgment, has skills in stress management. You're able to understand and take into consideration the feeling and opinions of others. You are independent and have self-direction. You are motivated to guide and to work with people. And as a manager, you are able to handle different situations, to make competent decisions, to channel others' feelings and hostilities into constructive problem solving. That I did want to talk about before we go into leadership styles is about being an effective leader. Because one needs to develop leadership skills to supervise others effectively. And there are certain qualities or attributes that are required of an effective leader. You have to have self-confidence, self-awareness. You have to have strong personal values. You have to have skills of values clarification. Advocate. You have to advocate to support, to provide information and support to those being led. Accountability. You have to take responsibility for your values and actions. And you have to have the ability to inspire others so they want to follow you. And you also have to have the ability to discipline others if necessary. So leadership styles: autocratic leadership. Autocratic leadership style is self-directed. This style calls for little or no input from the staff. It can be compared with dictatorship, in which the leader makes decisions and the group is expected to carry out the orders. Certain situations, though, may benefit from this type of leadership, such as in a code blue, because that style is more appropriate. This is code blue. You're going to carry out this. You're going to do this. This person will do this. That is probably the best type of leadership in that type of situation. Bureaucratic leadership. Bureaucratic is policy-minded. They rely on established protocols for decision making, and the policy and procedure manual of the facility, of course, offers step-by-step instructions. The bureaucratic leader considers those policy and procedure manuals ironclad rules. So this style can be helpful for new graduates who need detailed instructions. Democratic leadership. That is people-oriented and tries to guide staff in the right direction. Some nursing approaches, such as team nursing, benefit from democratic leadership. They consider group input, but they are able to make final decisions themselves when no consensus is achieved. And this style, democratic leadership, allows for a free flow of ideas, plans, and information between leader and followers. And then we have the laissez-faire leadership. That is the least structured. This leader has loosely structured goals. They have no firm guidelines. They encourage followers to choose their own goals and plans for implementation. Although leaders who use this may be well liked, their team has difficulty in accomplishing specific goals. The team leader charge nurse role. So the team leader charge nurse role has many facets, those of both a leader and a manager. And their responsibilities can include obtaining shift reports, assigning clients to staff members, handling emergencies, coordinating all the unit's activities, assigning staff breaks, monitoring client tests and procedures, ensuring the availability of supplies that are needed on the floor and equipment. They also perform other activities such as counting narcotics or like checking medications. They may be responsible for counting scissors or mirrors, checking the crash carts, reporting to the nursing supervisor and primary providers. They may also be responsible for checking staffing for the next shift, sending client acuity reports to administration, checking the temperature of the medication refrigerator, and performing quality control checks on blood sugar testing equipment. They can assign some of these tasks to other staff members, but, ultimately, if they do not assign them to someone else, they are responsible for performing all these actions. Also, the vocational practical nurse as a manager. They often function as managers in specific areas, most commonly clinics or long-term care facilities. And their their functions include supervision of other nursing and health-related personnel, functioning as a charge nurse or a team leader. They may function as a medication or treatment nurse. They will serve as a client advocate, and they can also assist in staff development instruction. But in order to serve as leaders in specialty areas, you should have at least 1 year of experience as a staff nurse in that area, present personal qualifications that indicate leadership abilities, demonstrate evidence of completion of appropriate in-service education or formal coursework, and last but not least is meet all standards of the nursing practice as set forth by the NFLPN and the State Board of Nursing. Sometimes a lot of LPNs are employed in clinics. So in clinics you can be responsible for writing policies, training other staff members, establishing training programs, function as a safety officer, attend their team leader meetings, follow up on quality assurance. And sometimes some LVNs or LPNs will perform telephone triage, which involves sorting calls to determine if a life-threatening situation must be immediately referred to an emergency services. Long-term care. Long-term care, most LPNs management or leadership positions are in extended care nursing homes. This the United States government has established a standard for a charge nurse in the skilled nursing facility, and this standard, it states that either it has to be at least one RN or LPN must be present in the facility and in charge at all times. Now, there's some acute care facilities that don't have a licensed nurse that may not be required to be on duty 24 hours a day, but they're required to be on call for emergencies at all times. So remember, the charge nurse must be able to recognize sufficient changes in the condition of a client and take necessary action regardless of the time of day or night. Your nursing alert on page 1892. The charge nurse is ultimately responsible for the total nursing care of all clients while they are on duty. Staff assignments. A charge nurse is often expected to assign duties to other members of the team. You have to know your clients and you have to know your staff members' strengths and abilities. One nice thing is if it's the same, if you're working 2-3 days in a row, It's nice sometimes to get that same assignment back so the clients can have consistent care from day to day. The team leader charge nurse is also responsible for explaining and demonstrating procedures to staff members and assisting in planning their workload so all clients receive optimum care. Charge nurses are also responsible for writing summary evaluations or performance reviews and going over that information with their staff member. If you do have an employee who is showing deficiencies, the first step in the due process is oral reprimand. If the deficiency continues, you move to a written reprimand. And is due process just ensures fair labor practices and prevents frivolous or punitive actions against employees by employers. If after the oral and written reprimand there's still a serious deficiencies, you can write a plan of assistance, and that plan of assistance consists of a statement of deficiency, noticing potential consequences to clients, employee actions needed to correct the deficiency, timeline for improvement to be apparent, and consequences to the employee if the plan of assistance is not followed and improvement is not shown. So the nursing alert on page 1894. If the charge nurse observes life-threatening or illegal deficiencies on the part of an employee, the director of nursing should be notified at once. Excuse me. And decision making. Nurses who are in leadership position, they're required to make many decisions. It ranges from, doing staff assignments to managing an assaultive client to calling a code. But however, the leader should be able to make and communicate competent decisions regardless of what leadership style is utilized. And also remember that the leader takes ultimate responsibility for any decision. So, in an emergency, you want to act quickly and communicate the situation's urgency. You want to seek advice or assistance from others when necessary. And remember to follow the chain of command in a facility. Following personal intuition, if the situation seems critical, act accordingly. Always follow your gut instinct, because 99.5% chance your gut instinct is correct. That is the end of chapter 103 for Nursing 401. The homework for this chapter is on my IoT, and also I have uploaded a copy of the homework under week 2's references, or not references, it's under homework. It is there in case you want to print it out. And just remember though, all homework must be answered on my IoT. Have a great week.